OSHA 1926.251, Rigging Equipment for Material Handling. 1926.251, General. 1926.251, 1. Rigging equipment for material handling shall be inspected prior to use on each shift and is necessary during its use to ensure that it is safe. Defective rigging equipment shall be removed from service. 1926.251, 2. Employers must ensure that rigging equipment. 1926.251, 2, has permanently affixed and legible identification markings as prescribed by the manufacturer that indicate the recommended safe working load. 1926.251, 2, not be loaded in excess of its recommended safe working load as prescribed on the identification markings by the manufacturer. And 1926.251, 3, not be used without affixed, legible identification markings required by paragraph A2I of this section. 1926.251, 3, rigging equipment, when not in use, shall be removed from the immediate work area so as not to present a hazard to employees. 1926.251, 4, special custom design grabs, hooks, clamps, or other lifting accessories, for such units as modular panels, prefabricated structures, and similar materials, shall be marked to indicate the safe working loads and shall be proof tested prior to use to 125% of their rated load. 1926.251, 5, scope. This section applies to slings used in conjunction with other material handling equipment for the movement of material by hoisting, in employments covered by this part. The types of slings covered are those made from alloy steel chain, wire rope, metal mesh, natural or synthetic fiber rope, conventional 3-strand construction, and synthetic web, nylon, polyester, and polypropylene. 1926.251, 6, inspections. Each day before being used, the sling and all fastenings and attachments shall be inspected for damage or defects by a competent person designated by the employer. Additional inspections shall be performed during sling use, where service conditions warrant. Damaged or defective slings shall be immediately removed from service. 1926.251, b, alloy steel chains. 1926.251, b1, welded alloy steel chain slings shall have permanently affixed durable identifications stating size, grade, rated capacity, and sling manufacturer. 1926.251, b2, hooks, rings, oblong links, pear-shaped links, welded or mechanical coupling links, or other attachments, when used with alloy steel chains, shall have a rated capacity at least equal to that of the chain. 1926.251, b3, job or shop hooks and links, or makeshift fasteners, formed from bolts, rods, etc., or other such attachments, shall not be used. 1926.251, b4, employers must not use alloy steel chain slings with loads in excess of the rated capacities, i.e., working load limits, indicated on the sling by permanently affixed and legible identification markings prescribed by the manufacturer. 1926.251, b5, whenever where at any point of any chain link exceeds that shown in Table H1, the assembly shall be removed from service. 1926.251, b6, inspections. 1926.251, b6, in addition to the inspection required by other paragraphs of this section, a thorough periodic inspection of alloy steel chain slings in use shall be made on a regular basis, to be determined on the basis of frequency of sling use, severity of service conditions, nature of lifts being made, and d. experience gained on the service life of slings used in similar circumstances. Such inspections shall in no event be at intervals greater than once every 12 months. 1926.251, b6, 2, the employer shall make and maintain a record of the most recent month in which each alloy steel chain sling was thoroughly inspected, and shall make such record available for examination. 1926.251, c, wire rope. 1926.251, c1, employers must not use improved plow steel wire rope and wire rope slings with loads in excess of the rated capacities, i.e., working load limits, indicated on the sling by permanently affixed and legible identification markings prescribed by the manufacturer. 1926.251 C2. Protruding ends of strands in splices on slings and bridles shall be covered or blunted. 1926.251 C3. Wire rope shall not be secured by knots, except on haulback lines on scrapers. 1926.251 C4. The following limitations shall apply to the use of wire rope. 1926.251 C4 I. An I-splice made in any wire rope shall have not less than 3 full tucks. However, this requirement shall not operate to preclude the use of another form of splice or connection which can be shown to be as efficient and which is not otherwise prohibited. 1926.251 C4 2. Except for I-splices in the ends of wires and for endless rope slings, each wire rope used in hoisting or lowering, or in pulling loads, shall consist of one continuous piece without knot or splice. 1926.251 C4 3. Eyes in wire rope bridles, slings, or bull wires shall not be formed by wire rope clips or knots. 1926.251 C4 4. Wire rope shall not be used if, in any length of 8 diameters, the total number of visible broken wires exceeds 10% of the total number of wires, or if the rope shows other signs of excessive wear, corrosion, or defect. 1926.251 C5. When U-bolt wire rope clips are used to form eyes, Table H2 shall be used to determine the number and spacing of clips. 1926.251 C5 I. When used for I-splices, the U-bolt shall be applied so that the U-section is in contact with the dead end of the rope. 1926.251 C5 2. Reserved. 1926.251 C6. Slings shall not be shortened with knots or bolts or other makeshift devices. 1926.251 C7. Sling legs shall not be kinked. 1926.251 C8. Slings used in a basket hitch shall have the loads balanced to prevent slippage. 1926.251 C9. Slings shall be padded or protected from the sharp edges of their loads. 1926.251 C10. Hands or fingers shall not be placed between the sling and its load while the sling is being tightened around the load. 1926.251 C11. Shock loading is prohibited. 1926.251 C12. A sling shall not be pulled from under a load when the load is resting on the sling. 1926.251 C13. Minimum sling lengths. 1926.251 C13. A cable laid in 6 by 19 and 6 by 37 slings shall have a minimum clear length of wire rope 10 times the component rope diameter between splices, sleeves, or end fittings. 1926.251 C13 2. Braided slings shall have a minimum clear length of wire rope 40 times the component rope diameter between the loops or end fittings. 1926.251 C13 3. Cable-laid grommets. Strand-laid grommets and endless slings shall have a minimum circumferential length of 96 times their body diameter. 1926.251 C14. Safe operating temperatures. Fiber core wire rope slings of all grades shall be permanently removed from service if they are exposed to temperatures in excess of 200 degrees Fahrenheit 93.33 degrees Celsius. When non-fiber core wire rope slings of any grade are used at temperatures above 400 degrees Fahrenheit 204.44 degrees Celsius or below -60 degrees Fahrenheit 15.55 degrees Celsius, recommendations of the sling manufacturer regarding use at that temperature shall be followed. 1926.251 C15. End attachments. 1926.251 C15 I. Welding of end attachments, except covers to thimbles, shall be performed prior to the assembly of the sling. 1926.251 C15 2. All welded end attachments shall not be used unless proof tested by the manufacturer or equivalent entity at twice their rated capacity prior to initial use. The employer shall retain a certificate of the proof test and make it available for examination. 1926.251 C16. Wire rope slings shall have permanently affixed, legible identification markings stating size, rated capacity for the types of hitches used and the angle upon which it is based, and the number of legs if more than one. 1926.251 D. Natural rope and synthetic fiber. 1926.251 D1. Employers must not use natural and synthetic fiber rope slings with loads in excess of the rated capacities, i.e., working load limits, indicated on the sling by permanently affixed and legible identification markings prescribed by the manufacturer. 1926.251 D2. All splices and rope slings provided by the employer shall be made in accordance with fiber rope manufacturer's recommendations. 1926.251 D2 I. In manila rope, I splices shall contain at least 3 full tucks, and short splices shall contain at least 6 full tucks, 3 on each side of the centerline of the splice. 1926.251 D2 2. In laid synthetic fiber rope, I splices shall contain at least 4 full tucks, and short splices shall contain at least 8 full tucks, 4 on each side of the centerline of the splice. 1926.251 D2 3. Strand end tails shall not be trimmed short, flush with the surface of the rope, immediately adjacent to the full tucks. This precaution applies to both eye and short splices and all types of fiber rope. For fiber ropes under 1 inch diameter, the tails shall project at least 6 rope diameters beyond the last full tuck. For fiber ropes 1 inch diameter and larger, the tails shall project at least 6 inches beyond the last full tuck. In applications where the projecting tails may be objectionable, the tail shall be tapered and spliced into the body of the rope using at least 2 additional tucks, which will require a tail length of approximately 6 rope diameters beyond the last full tuck. 1926.251 D2 4. For all eye splices, the eye shall be sufficiently large to provide an included angle of not greater than 60 degrees at the splice when the eye is placed over the load or support. 1926.251 D2 The knot shall not be used in lieu of splices. 1926.251 D3 Safe operating temperatures. Natural and synthetic fiber rope slings, except for wet frozen slings, may be used in a temperature range from -20 degrees Fahrenheit -28.88 degrees Celsius to +180 degrees Fahrenheit 82.2 degrees Celsius without decreasing the working load limit. For operations outside this temperature range and for wet frozen slings, the sling manufacturer's recommendations shall be followed. 1926.251 D4 Splicing. Spliced fiber rope slings shall not be used unless they have been spliced in accordance with the following minimum requirements and in accordance with any additional recommendations of the manufacturer. 1926.251 D4 I. In manila rope, eye splices shall consist of at least 3 full tucks, and short splices shall consist of at least 6 full tucks, 3 on each side of the splice center line. 1926.251 D4 2. In synthetic fiber rope, eye splices shall consist of at least 4 full tucks, and short splices shall consist of at least 8 full tucks, 4 on each side of the center line. 1926.251 D4 3. Strand end tails shall not be trimmed flush with the surface of the rope immediately adjacent to the full tucks. This applies to all types of fiber rope and both eye and short splices. For fiber rope under 1 inch (2.54 centimeters) in diameter, the tail shall project at least 6 rope diameters beyond the last full tuck. For fiber rope 1 inch (2.54 centimeters) in diameter and larger, the tail shall project at least 6 inches (15.24 centimeters) beyond the last full tuck. Where a projecting tail interferes with the use of the sling, the tail shall be tapered and spliced into the body of the rope using at least 2 additional tucks, which will require a tail length of approximately 6 rope diameters beyond the last full tuck. 1926.251 D4 4. Fiber rope slings shall have a minimum clear length of rope between eye splices equal to 10 times the rope diameter. 1926.251 D4 The knot shall not be used in lieu of splices. 1926.251 D4 6. Clamps not designed specifically for fiber ropes shall not be used for splicing. 1926.251 D4 7. For all eye splices, the eye shall be of such size to provide an included angle of not greater than 60 degrees at the splice when the eye is placed over the load or support. 1926.251 D5 End attachments. Fiber rope slings shall not be used if end attachments in contact with the rope have sharp edges or projections. 1926.251 D6. Removal from service. Natural and synthetic fiber rope slings shall be immediately removed from service if any of the following conditions are present. 1926.251 D6 I. Abnormal wear. 1926.251 D6 the second, powdered fiber between strands. 1926.251 D6 3. Broken or cut fibers. 1926.251 D6 4. Variations in the size or roundness of strands. 1926.251 D6 the discoloration or rotting. 1926.251 D6 6. Distortion of hardware in the sling. 1926.251 D7. Employers must use natural and synthetic fiber rope slings that have permanently affixed and legible identification markings that state the rated capacity for the types of hitches used and the angle upon which it is based, type of fiber material, and the number of legs if more than one. 1926.251 E. Synthetic webbing, nylon, polyester, and polypropylene. 1926.251 E1. The employer shall have each synthetic web sling marked or coded to show. 1926.251 E1 I. Name or trademark of manufacturer. 1926.251 E1 2. Rated capacities for the type of hitch. 1926.251 E1 3. Type of material. 1926.251 E2. Rated capacity shall not be exceeded. 1926.251 E3. Webbing. Synthetic webbing shall be of uniform thickness and width, and selvage edges shall not be split from the webbing's width. 1926.251 E4. Fittings. Fittings shall be 1926.251 E4 I. Of a minimum breaking strength equal to that of the sling, and 1926.251 E4 2. Free of all sharp edges that could in any way damage the webbing. 1926.251 E5. Attachment of end fittings to webbing and formation of eyes. Stitching shall be the only method used to attach end fittings to webbing and to form eyes. The thread shall be in an even pattern and contain a sufficient number of stitches to develop the full breaking strength of the sling. 1926.251 E6. Environmental conditions. When synthetic web slings are used, the following precautions shall be taken. 1926.251 E6 I. Nylon web slings shall not be used where fumes, vapors, sprays, mists or liquids of acids or phenolics are present. 1926.251 E6 2. Polyester and polypropylene web slings shall not be used where fumes, vapors, sprays, mists or liquids of caustics are present. 1926.251 E6 3. Web slings with aluminum fittings shall not be used where fumes, vapors, sprays, mists or liquids of caustics are present. 1926.251 E7. Safe operating temperatures. Synthetic web slings of polyester and nylon shall not be used at temperatures in excess of 180 degrees Fahrenheit 82.2 degrees Celsius. Polypropylene web slings shall not be used at temperatures in excess of 200 degrees Fahrenheit 93.33 degrees Celsius. 1926.251 E8. Removal from service. Synthetic web slings shall be immediately removed from service if any of the following conditions are present. 1926.251 E8 I. Acid or caustic burns. 1926.251 E8 2. Melting or charring of any part of the sling surface. 1926.251 E8 3. Snags, punctures, tears or cuts. 1926.251 E8 4. Broken or worn stitches, or 1926.251 E8 V. Distortion of fittings. 1926.251 F. Shackles and hooks. 1926.251 F1. Employers must not use shackles with loads in excess of the rated capacities, i.e., working load limits, indicated on the shackle by permanently affixed and legible identification markings prescribed by the manufacturer. 1926.251 F2. The manufacturer's recommendations shall be followed in determining the safe working loads of the various sizes and types of specific and identifiable hooks. All hooks for which no applicable manufacturer's recommendations are available shall be tested to twice the intended safe working load before they are initially put into use. The employer shall maintain a record of the dates and results of such tests.